no, actually, I'm going to shut you down now. I'm sorry. 2 questions. That's great. No, this gentleman would like to ask a question right now. Just take a few more questions. Come and talk to the panelists afterwards. Yeah.
My name is Kiran Raj. There was a lot of discussions about the green roofs and green infrastructure. My question is, when you say green infrastructure, does it even include growing plants in the indoors completely? The indoor plants, even that is considered as a green infrastructure? That is my question.
There are as many definitions of green infrastructure as there are languages spoken in India.
Okay. Okay. So does these
So if you want to have indoor plants as part of your definition of green infrastructure, then you go right ahead and do it.
Okay.
But
No.
I mean, because stormwater's been a big driver in many countries around the world, stormwater management
Okay.
and urban heat island,
Okay.
indoor plants, which are definitely have many benefits
Yes.
that outdoor plants have, but there's a lot of benefits they don't have.
Okay.
So they're not typically considered to be green infrastructure. But as I said, there's many definitions as there are languages in India. And you laughed at that. That was great. I finally got a good joke in there. Do you have another question? Or
That's it.
any other questions? Leave it up to the Indian Green Infrastructure Network to define what green infrastructure is in India. That'll be one of their tasks.
Hi everyone, I'm Apurva. I'm a civil engineer. And what I would like to ask is, you said these policies are made compulsory in France for green roofs. How do people know how to go about it? The government has made policies. Suppose if you have to extrapolate it to a country like India, where people do not know how to go about, what is France doing to educate these people or to guide them how to go about retrofitting into green infrastructure?
So it's about the question is about educating French building professionals. How do you go about teaching them? How did you go about teaching them about green roofs in France? What did you do?
You are speaking about the education of professionals.
Yeah.
Really, Said, we didn't work seriously on that. The situation was from the starting point of our activity that companies were presenting solutions, and it was not small companies, some big waterproofing companies which had quite large possibility of advertisement or promotion. And of course, as example, how you say, as I was working in such company, I was not every day, but very often meeting architects to convince them and to give them all the arguments. Since we organized some session with architects, we had 100, 200 architects in the room already in the 90s, as example. But really, education was not asked, and the bodies who should ask this are just now a little bit asking this, because as example for landscape architects, still in France they are not so much involved in this. They discovered it quite late, and it's quite a new question. It's a little bit strange, but our market was developing without that because of the force, if I can say that, of the companies mainly. And of course of our association, which organized some conference, but not so many, I would say, to spread in all over France. Like my colleague Stephen is proposing in North America since many years with this GRP system. We don't have such, and it's working. It's not a good example, maybe, I don't know.
So other countries have, and in North America, we have something called the Green Roof Professional Accreditation, and requires 3 days of technical training, and you have to write an exam and pass with very high marks to become a green roof professional. And that gives you all the basic training that you need to design and implement and maintain a green roof system. And other countries have similar type of certifications. France is France. They let the private sector, it sounds like, do most of the education. The private sector in France is strong, and they provided the education. But they may end up going towards some form of certification at the future. I'm thinking, right, Francois? Certification in France? Some sort of certification for green roofs?
Certification?
Certification? Professional?
No. We are
What about
Hello, hello?
schools? What about your schools?
we are even not looking for that. Schools are asking us to make some education, but it's like, I would say, a simple level in general. Some 1 day, 2 days courses for not high-level students. So it's always useful. But what I was thinking after my first answer is, I think our architects, maybe it's their habit, I don't know, they are believing if a company who is presenting a serious concept, they are believing it.
Yes, yeah. So the companies have done a lot of the work in France to educate the architects. But it is very important to have education, because what can happen is you can have a lot of project failures. You can have a project slide off the side of a building. You can have all the plants die. You can have the roots penetrate through the waterproofing. You can have damage to the waterproofing system. You could put the inappropriate plants in. There's as many ways to mess up a green roof as there are languages in the Indian subcontinent. Seriously. So professional training is very important, and that's one of the roles of industry associations, is to provide that training often, but not so in the case of France. Norway? And then we're going to have to wrap.
We don't have enough professional training either in Norway, but I would just like to supplement the professional training idea with the guidelines and national standards. So we do have a national standard for green roofs that's made by of course, a professional committee, myself included. And we have some very nice guidelines published in Sweden a few years ago that are appropriate for our climate. So look to the guidelines as well as to education.
Thank you. Unfortunately, yeah, we're going to have to wrap. We're standing in the way of lunch. Sorry, we can come up after and chat.
That we have as an expression of appreciation for all these great minds here. I would like to invite Mr. Vivek Martin, who is the director of IGIN. So please, to give away the mementos to these speakers. Stephen, please. First, we have Mr. Francois Lazin from France. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause. We have Mr. David Vernon Brasfield from Norway. Last but not the least, the one and only Mr. Stephen Peck. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We shall break for lunch, and we'll meet you all at 2:30. Thank you.